my veins. Blue and one, I red, white and blue in my brain. I'm Bulldog born. Bulldog, that's my breed. I was born to follow where the Bulldogs lead.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for a fantastic episode of Inside the Kennel. We've got the man himself. It's the Kennel Master, the King of Footscray, Dougie Hawkins.
Matty, how are you, mate?
Awesome, Dougie. I'm absolutely delighted.
Good on you, Matty. Good on you, mate.
It's great to have you on board, Dougie, because today we're talking about a fantastic player from not long ago. It's Daniel Cross.
Matty, number 4. Matty, Daniel Cross and Matty Boy. Both of those boys got everything out of their bodies. Daniel Cross, I loved him. I loved the way he worked his backside off. I loved the way he got everything out of his body to become he was a great player for the Bulldogs. He was a great player for the Bulldogs, Daniel Cross. He worked hard on his kicking. His kicking wasn't great early days. He worked very, very hard on that, and I remember him doing that. So, Matty, so tell me more about he played 100 and, how many games would he have played, Matty, with the Bulldogs?
210 for the Doggies.
How many, Matty?
210.
210?
For the Doggies. He played 249 in total, but 39 of those are at the Demons. Yeah, 210 with us.
So over what period, Matty? When did Daniel start at the Dogs?
Yeah, so he was picked 56 in the year 2000. And he stayed with us right up until 2013.
So he missed the premiership by three years. I reckon he might have went to Melbourne, Matty. Did he go to Melbourne? No. Did he go to Melbourne?
Yep, yeah, he did. So he played 2 seasons at Melbourne, 39 games. And because we didn't offer him a contract after 2013.
Who was coaching them, Matty? Who was doing 213, you reckon? Was it Plough was gone, wasn't he?
Plough was gone. Rocket was gone. It was Brendan McCartney.
Brendan McCartney.
Let him go.
I reckon Brendan McCartney would have loved him too, I reckon. He would have been what age, Matty, when he left to go to Melbourne at the end of his career there at Bulldogs too? He'd be 30. He's got to be 30-something.
Yeah, he must have been about 31 based on those calculations. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, best and fairest, Matty. Any best and fairest did he win?
Yeah, so you're going to love this, Doug, because he won one best and fairest in 2008, but for 10 years straight. So I'm talking from 2003, 2012, he was in the top 10 every single year for those 10 years.
Well, how consistent is that? I mean, seriously, how consistent on that? And the year he won his best and fairest, 2008, so he still had Grandy run. Grandy was still running around there with Westy and Jono and them blokes?
Jono and Westy were there. I think Grandy probably just went.
He was about gone, Grandy, was he?
Yeah, I think so. But that was a year that we made the prelim. So, it was an incredible team. Yeah. Yeah,
and Rowan Smith was running around as well. Mate, Daniel Cross, Matty, terrific story. I just loved he was so polite, respectable young man. I got a feeling, Matty, correct me if I'm wrong here, I had this feeling he'd come down from Albury way or somewhere. Where did he come from?
Yep, he's Albury Wodonga boy because he actually returned there afterward and won 2 premierships for his old team, the Tigers.
So he went back and won 2 flags.
Yep.
He'd be in his mid-late 30s probably by then. But he was just he's just a professional.
Yep.
He went about his footy professionally. He looked after himself beautifully. What, 6'1", Matty? 6'2"? Would he be?
Yeah, 187 centimetres. That's 6'2". Yeah, you're right.
6'2".
Yep.
And probably, good strong 80, 90 plus kilos. Good hard runner, not super quick. Could win the footy, great courage. Could kick the ball both-sided if he had to. He could easily do that as well. Mate, he was a star. And 210 games. Gee, that surprised me a little bit, Matty, too. And he's taken Charlie home at best and fairest, played with some great players. Again, this bloke, Daniel Cross, got everything out of his body.
Did he remind you of any players from your era, Dougie?
Bit of Darren Baxter about him. A little bit just comes to mind offhand. But he was a fantastic player, Daniel Cross, make no mistake about it. I'm looking forward to it, Matty. You chat with him, he'd be fantastic. And what's he doing now, Matty?
He's involved in conditioning with North Melbourne. So he worked at Melbourne Footy Club for a while,
Oh,
but
is
after
he? At North, yeah.
COVID, he wasn't. There was no positions that were available. So he's actually down at North doing conditioning, I believe.
That's a bloke who you'd want to be talking to about getting everything out of your body because he did it, mate. Daniel Cross, tick from Dougie.
Love it, Doug. Well, and guess what? I can hear him
He's
knocking.
knocking.
Bring
Good on
him
you,
in.
Crossy. Good boy, Crossy. The boy from Albury. Good on you, mate.
Love it. Thanks, Dougie.
Yeah, Matty. Good on you, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, look who's crawled inside the kennel. It's none other than Daniel Cross. Welcome, Crossy.
Thanks for having me, Matty. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're delighted to have you. The Bulldog supporters have been asking me for some time, and we always start by asking our guests, can you describe in your own words what type of player were you?
The thing that I guess I wanted to be known for is being a great teammate and a real team man. I definitely don't consider myself, being in the guys that I played with, like Brad Johnson, Brownlow medalists like Coons and Griff, was an exceptional player. I don't see myself in those guys, like the upper echelon type players, but just being a real consistent player week in, week out. I like to play my role every week and probably just hard and someone who put their body on the line for the team. They're the things that I sort of prided myself on. Those intangible sort of things that there's no kicks, handballs, marks attached to those things. They're just doing what's ever required. In your particular role that week.
Awesome to hear that. Yeah, not too many super coach points for some of those things, but my God, it's what it's all about. Definitely, Crossy, and we're going to talk about that, no doubt. But I want to take you back to the beginning to start with. Where did your footy journey begin? You're an Albury lad. Talk us through some of your junior days.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I grew up at the Albury Football Club, basically, and ended up playing there as well after I finished playing in the AFL. So I did a full 360. But yeah, my dad was the games record holder there. When I was growing up, and he ended up going and play even more country out at Bethanga after he finished up at Albury. I think he finished up and he was maybe 34, 35 when he finished playing out there. My love for footy was ingrained in my family. My uncle Terry, so Dad's brother, was an Albury legend as well. Me and my brother, there was a lot of younger kids, like sort of our age, that we, after the game would finish, we would be out on the ground until we couldn't see the ball anymore. And all the parents and that would be up in the club rooms having a few beers and that, and we'd just be outside until the light. As I said, until we couldn't see it anymore, until we couldn't see the ball anymore. So my passion for football was always there because I grew up around it, and so that's where my passion started, just with my family and my dad and my brother, and loved it from ever since I can remember.
That sounds unreal. So it sounds like you were ordained pretty much to to make the big time. And I understand you made the Murray Bush Rangers League, and that was a happy hunting ground, wasn't it? Because it's the likes of Barry Hall, Fraser Garrick, Adam Uze, so some champions that came through there. What was your under-18 representative year like?
It was a real honour to make the Bush Rangers team. I mean, my junior club was St Patrick's Junior Football Club. And I played a few years in the under-13s and was lucky enough to win a few flags there. Some great memories with a lot of my mates, and even from those days, we used to look at the TAC Cup. It was, as it was called then, all the Murray Bushrangers players then, and that's what we all sort of aspired to as, even 13, 14-year-olds. And as we were all sort of coming through the ranks, it was something that we we really wanted to achieve, and that was always my goal, even from a younger age at 13, 14. So yeah, when I got selected, I got picked as a bottom major as a 17-year-old, and I think we had 9 drafted from our team. We finished on top, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I really loved my time. I was lucky. I had a great coach in that year with Kelly O'Donnell, who played in the AFL system. He coached in the system, and he's now a recruiting officer at Melbourne. So he went to Fremantle that year after, and I remember on draft day that year that he gave me a phone call. I think the draft was up to about pick 40 or something, and I was still waiting. Waiting for my name to be called, and got the phone call from him and said, "Oh, I think their pick was at 63 or something like that." And he said, "If you're still there at 63, would you be keen to come across to Fremantle?"
Oh,
Like, of course it would be. Like, I was willing to go anywhere. So I was waiting and sort of almost knowing that I could be picked up at 63, and then at 56, get picked up by the Bulldogs. So, yeah, mum and dad and the family were very happy that I wasn't moving too far down to Melbourne. My grandma, so my mum's mum actually thought I was moving to Perth anyway, because she thought the Western Bulldogs was a Western Australian team. So, when she found out I was only going to Melbourne, she was happy.
what was it like walking through the kennel doors for the first time? Who were the sort of faces that brought you in and that you bonded with?
I remember my first day. I drove down with mum and dad. As I said, I was still in year 11 when I came down. So,
Wow.
so I came down, and they got cross street at the back of the Whitten Oval. So, they're like, "Oh, cool! They've named a street after us already." But yeah, I remember coming in the doors, and the first guys I met was so Lindsay Gilby and Mitch Hahn. They were upstairs. You walk through the front doors and up the door, and yeah, we got brought down. So there was 4 of us that got drafted. So Geordie McMahon, Shane Burse, Wade Skipper, and myself. We were all 17-year-olds. So we all came down for the weekend, and the boys were training. They were doing a running session. A few of them were throwing up, and it was a real eye opener for us. I can still remember it very vividly. It's good memories.
Oh, the initiation is complete, and I guess you spent the first year, 2001, sort of plying your craft. It was your apprenticeship year essentially,
Yep.
and I guess you were under the tutelage of Terry Wallace at the time. What was it like being under Plough? How was your relationship with him, and did he have a roadmap for your eventual success?
My relationship with Plough was great. It was fine. He was as I said, yeah, I didn't spend a whole heap of time there during that year. But yeah, I think they certainly probably saw me as a bit of a project player. I was, running was definitely my strength. I was a real endurance athlete. And I had some, definitely had some skills, had some talents. My marking and clean hands, and my ability to win the ball. Kicking wasn't my strength back then, so I spent a lot of time. David Noble was one of our assistant coaches, development coaches back then. So I remember spending a lot of time with Nobes, working on my kicking, and in later years, Leon Cameron, who's one of the best kicks that the game's ever seen. I was lucky to have him as well. And Dougie came down as a specialist coach. I spent a bit of time with him. So yeah, my relationship with Plough was fine. It was all good. He just, he probably didn't see me that much in my first year. And I remember I played in the reserves grand final for Werribee in that first year. The seniors, the Werribee seniors played, and they lost the grand final. But the Werribee reserves, I ended up playing the reserves grand final. We won. So yeah, that was something at the end of the year. But I remember walking into my end of year exit meeting with Plough, and we just won the grand final, and I had it around my neck. I don't think I had it out showing, but he wasn't overly chuffed on me wearing it, sort of thing. He's like, oh, you played in a reserves grand final. I wouldn't be going around, too proud to be wearing that sort of thing. You should be, expecting bigger things. I was 17. I was pretty happy, to play in a grand final. I hadn't played a whole heap of senior footy before, so I remember that coming from him. So he set high standards for the group, and I certainly did for myself. But it was just something that I remember from him. But after the following year, I ended up debuting, and he was still coach. So he gave him my start, and I'll be forever thankful for that.
Unreal, absolutely. Well, I imagine you would have tucked that medal deep in your t-shirt after he said that, and straight.
I think I threw it out after that.
Absolutely. Don't want to be on the receiving end of any sprays from Plough. But you talk about your first game. It was at the MCG mid-season in 2002, wasn't it? Can you tell us about that first game, your first kick, and how it all went for you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I still remember it, Matty. I think it was the day before, and it was captain's run, and I'd had a really good run of form for Werribee over about 5 or 6 weeks, where I was in the best every week, and I thought I was getting closer and closer. I was emergency a couple of times, and I remember we came in from captain's run as an emergency at that time, and I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was Steve Crediuk. I think it was Crusher that he had to pull out through injury. From that, he mustn't have got through a fitness test or something. And I remember walking into the team meeting, and I saw my name on the board in the starting lineup or on the bench. And I just wasn't expecting it. And then a big cheer went up, and Plough, straight away mentioned that I was playing my first game. So it was a huge thrill, and it was a beautiful winter's day. As you said, we played at the G, we played Richmond, and I think we won by about 19 points. Back in those days, I didn't come on until the third quarter. It was like it being a sub these days. Yeah. Unless you came off, you're being dragged for something pretty bad. So I didn't come on until the third quarter. I think I played in the back pocket for a quarter and a half. I think I had 3 touches for the game. I was just doing my job, locking my opponent away, and trying not to get a goal kicked on me, which I don't think I did. So, we ended up winning, which was great. Had quite a bit of family there, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I bet it was. Daniel Bandy was the unlikely hero that game. I think he kicked 4 goals and got us across the line. But what a debut to have your boyhood dream come true, I imagine.
Yeah, it was awesome, mate. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the following couple of seasons, we ended up getting Peter Rode in, and the next 2 seasons you played 17 games across those 2002 and 3, but wasn't a lot of success for the club at that time. Was that just underachievement at the time, or was it just a ripening list that was sort of coming to fruition?
I think so. Yeah, what you said there, I think you're definitely spot on. A young group has to play together for a while, and experience, how you play, what type of style each other, brings to the game, and just getting runs on the board and pre-seasons under your belt, and just that experience. And I think that was just a bit of a changing of the list at that time. I think it was more so that than anything. I think we always worked extremely hard. We didn't have the greatest facilities at Whitten Oval back then, but we were definitely a hard-working team, and we still had great leaders around at that time with Jono and Smithy and Westy and Granny, Luke Darcy. So it wasn't like we had terrible senior players. I just think there was probably that big gap between those guys and us as younger guys, and unfortunately that takes a little bit of time.
Yep, sure. Well, time ticked around, and 2005 came, and with it, we got a new coach, didn't we? Rocket Eade. We had Rocket on recently, and he said he noticed that the list profile had a heck of a lot of speed in it, so he saw an opportunity there to really sort of change up our game style, and I guess that coincided with a real spike of our performance. Can you attribute Rocket's entry to the club with the changing of our fortunes there?
Oh yeah, I mean he was brilliant. Obviously for me, yeah, I wouldn't have got to. Oh well, I don't know whether I would have got to where I did without him, and his belief in me. I think that's what was lacking a bit with Rhoda. I think until the second half of that 2004 season, I was emergency almost every second week, and I think Rocket definitely saw the strengths that I could bring to the team, and that would have been the case with a lot of the guys, who we all played together for such a long time. He just brought a great confidence to everyone's game, and yeah, he was right. We were real quick. I wasn't one of those quick guys, but a really quick and skillful team, and he's obviously one of the best coaches that had been going around at that time. He is very smart to pick up on that quickly and play to our strengths as players. So he formulated a game plan around that. What our list profile looked like, and he was a massive part of the success that we had during that period.
Yeah, and that particular year, you played 22 games, and your disposal rate was tripled in that year alone. We won 5 of the last 6 games, and the trajectory was really right up. So, what do you attribute your own personal growth to that year? Because it was just an incredible breakout year.
Yeah, as I said, I think it was just opportunity. I'd been plying my trade really hard. Down at Werribee, as I said, I had Chris Bond as a coach down there, and he ended up being an assistant coach. We had some great assistants. I think that was definitely one of my strengths. I was very self motivated. I was hungry to prove people wrong. Just super keen to, I guess, just not let my AFL dream that I had as a boy, just die off and wilter. And I wanted to make it happen. And I think I consistently worked hard at my game all throughout the year. Through off season, through preseason, and I was 22, so I think once you come to that sort of age, that's when you really start to hit your straps, and then that opportunity on top of that. I think, definitely that last part of 2004 gave me some confidence that I could play at the level. Played the second half of that year, and then going into that pre-season, just took it to another level and had that belief from the coach, and it just went from there.
And if you think 2005 was good, 2006 was just atomic, because we started the season off with a bang. We beat the Tigers by over 100 points, and you dominated, along with Westy and Brad Johnson, who you mentioned, Gia. But we had a heck of a list, didn't we? We had Rowan Smith and Grandy, and even Bobby Murphy was along, Matty Boyd, your old mate, Lindsay Gilby, you mentioned, Griffo, Eagleton. So the list just went on and on, Cooney Lake. So we weren't wanting for much. Did we think that we were a sneaky chance to challenge for a flag that year, or was it still a little bit young?
I think I remember coming to the end of that 2005 year. It was the last game. I think it was Essendon versus Melbourne. We needed Essendon to beat Melbourne for us to scrape into the finals. And I remember us all watching the game at the Spotswood RSL, and unfortunately we didn't make it, but we stormed home in that year. And I think that gave us some belief in the group that we weren't that far off, and we definitely didn't talk about winning grand finals or anything like that. But I think the brand of footy that we played was real exciting. It was it was really fun to play in. We loved playing for each other and with each other, and sort of the momentum just kept going through there. Yeah, that first final versus Collingwood was probably my favourite memory. It's probably my greatest memory winning that game. We were huge underdogs, pardon the pun, to win that game. And I think we were up against it early. Monty got knocked out in the first 5 seconds, and I still don't know, and nobody does pretty much how he kicked 4 goals that day. But yeah, I remember that game very well, and I love being able to look back on highlights from that game and see where we finished. We ended up smashing them by 6 or 7 goals, and we had real confidence going into the West Coast game because we beat them earlier that year over there again when we were huge underdogs, and that was a huge win for us. So that gave us belief, and I think we were in the game still until 3/4 time, but they put the foot down in the last quarter, and their experience probably played out in the end, and they ended up going on to win it. So yeah, they were the team to beat that year, those guys in Sydney, and yeah, I think again. It showed that we were getting there, but it still showed that we were a little bit off. Only finishing in the semi-final. So, but yeah, they were some exciting years, those ones.
Oh, indeed. I remember watching that Collingwood game from my sofa in London, and I got up at 5 o'clock, and we were jumping around, we were going crazy, and I couldn't imagine what it'd be like running in front of 84,000 in that cauldron and the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, the adrenaline. Yeah, when you get goosebumps, you just think of that the hairs standing on the end of your skin. It's definitely that type of feeling, and when you hear the roar, you get that every single time, and the adrenaline just goes higher and higher each time. And yeah, it was a beautiful day. It was a really nice sunny day, and yeah, it was the biggest crowd that I'd played in front of up until that point. So yeah, we were on a high. Like it felt like we were running on top of the ground towards the end of that game. Yeah, so it was a great memory that I still have.
Oh, so just on that, like, what is it like playing in front of a crowd that's just screaming? Is it just white noise and just like an eruption of sound, or are you able to sort of hone in and hear sort of little things that inspire you? How do you deal with it? Some players tell me they tune out completely and it's just all about the game, whereas others are sort of distracted with it and caught up in the emotion. How is it for you?
Yeah, 100%. Like everyone will be different, and everyone I'm sure would tell you something different. But yeah, for me, it's definitely that white noise. You are that locked into what you are doing, and not making a mistake and making sure your skill execution is on point. So yeah, and everyone's got their role to do, and you can't get too caught up in what's going on outside of the playing field. So um, yeah, it's as you get older, it's definitely something that you miss. Um, yeah, it really is a real high to be out there, but yeah, without sort of taking in too much of what anyone's saying in the crowd or anything, you just fully locked in.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I expected that of you, Crossy. You look like you're that sort of combat mode always. Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you say, we got bundled out by the Eagles in Rowan Smith's 300th game, but 2007 came around. We invested heavily. We got Jason Ackermanis through the door, and we're the early premiership favourites. What can you recall from that 2007 campaign?
Well, yeah, as I said, we through that pre-season, I'm pretty sure it was that pre-season where we were all running PBs in our time trials. We had, lifting as heavy as we had in the gym. We were full of confidence going into that season. As you said, picking up Acker and some guys to pump up our list. And, we were coming into, we were 23, 24. Some of the boys were 25. Was sort of coming into that area where we had really strong belief. And I think we started the season pretty well. and then we got hit by injury. Yeah, it was. I know. Yeah, I was one of them. Me and Griff went down in the same game. I think it was around round 10 or 11 up in Brisbane. Both of us hurt our knees pretty bad, and I think there was a couple of other ones. Some with a bad back injury, but yeah, I think that just sort of got that sort of caught us off guard a little bit. There's, as I said, there's a few others that can't come to head right now, but I just remember we just sort of limped to the end of that season, limped to the line a little bit. And yeah, whether it was, I don't think it was the case, but I don't know, maybe some individuals thought, it was just going to happen and got a little bit ahead of ourselves of where we were actually at. I don't know for sure, but yeah, it was, that was frustrating for me on a personal note. I think I missed 6-7 games that year, which was disappointing, but it certainly made us even more hungrier going into that next preseason.
Yeah, totally. Well, we didn't win a single game in the last seven rounds of that season, so limping to it is absolutely correct. But I guess you sort of went to the off season with retribution on your mind. But whilst on the end of season trip that year in Hong Kong, you had a life changing or altering event that occurred that really tested, I guess, your character and courage at Victoria Harbour. Can you tell us a little bit about what unfolded out there that day?
Yeah, I'd never been to Hong Kong before, so it was an eye-opening experience just to be there. As the nightlife there is amazing, beautiful city. So yeah, I think it was our second night there. So we're walking along the harbour. You weren't supposed to be on your phone. Once 6 o'clock hit, you weren't supposed to be on your phone. So I was up the back of the group on my phone to my now wife, Sam, just sneaking in a cheeky phone call. And there was a few of us up the back there. And so we'll sort of spread out along the boulevard, walking up to the junk boat about over 100 metres. And we could see people were fishing, off into the harbour. And anyway, I got off the phone and I could hear all this commotion up ahead. And I thought someone had caught a big fish or something. So, there was people sort of, a lot of noise going on up front. And so we sort of just jogged up there to see what was going on. And then there's a fence about chest high. And then there's a step and then down into the water. So I was expecting to see someone catching a big fish. And I just couldn't believe my eyes. I looked over the edge and there was this girl in the water and she looked like she was drowning. And I quickly sort of looked around and was like, why isn't anyone doing anything? So I just instinct, I just snapped into action and just jumped the fence and just jumped straight in the water to help her. And about 10, 15 seconds later, I think Tommy Williams jumped in after me and he nearly landed on my head. So yeah, we were trying to, the boys sort of threw down one of the boys that was hanging on the side, and we were trying to get her up. So it was about a 4 meter wall up to the step, where we jumped off.
Wow.
But she wouldn't get in this buoy. She was telling us to go away, just leave her alone, sort of thing. And we were like really confused, like, why isn't she trying to get out of the water? And little did I know that the boys up the front saw her jump in the water. I didn't actually see her jump in. So I thought she must have just fallen in somehow. She's walking along the edge or something. She's fallen in. And yeah, as the story goes, it turns out that she was trying to commit suicide. So apparently, her school bag was on the ledge there and she just jumped into the water, and apparently it was pretty commonplace over there. So she was a 15-year-old girl, school girl, still in her school clothes. And yeah, we ended up getting her out. We had to, basically swim her, I don't know, 20, 30 meters down to this ladder. And we eventually got her up, and Tommy and I had to quickly go back. Once we got up, my phone and my wallet was still in my pocket. So my phone was dead. And
Oh,
yeah, all my money and cards were wet and soaking. But we had to head back to the showers because we had cuts and that all over us. And little did we know how polluted Hong Kong Harbour was. Yeah, so and I think there's a few creepy crawlies in there in that harbour as well. Little did I know, but yeah, we had to go and wash off and shower, and yeah, about an hour had passed, and we got back to the boys, and yeah, she got whisked off in an ambulance and so forth, and yeah, it was an experience that yeah, I won't forget. And
wow.
we got back to Australia, and then about a month later, we got an email from her mum through David Price, saying, like, just thanking us from the bottom of her heart. And it was her only child. She'd been under a lot of pressure at school, and she'd just broken up with her boyfriend, and yeah, she was telling us her whole story. So yeah, that was nice to hear. At that time, she was doing really well, and yeah, we saved her life. So
My
yeah, something
God.
to be proud of. Yeah.
I'll say, if nothing else that you achieve, that's one thing that you can hang your hat on forever. And do you know what became of that young lady?
I don't, unfortunately. We tried, we corresponded with the mother back and forth, 2 or 3 times. And then I think I tried maybe, six to 9 months later, to check in, and there was no response back. I don't know whether an email had changed or whatever, but, no, since that, last correspondence, I hadn't heard since, but, yeah, hopefully she's prospering, and yeah, she's lived a good life so far.
Absolutely. She'll be in her mid-30s now. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Crossy, incredible. And you were offered you were awarded a Bravery Award by the Hong Kong government, you and Tommy, I believe. So an amazing achievement there, and testament to you.
Yeah, thanks, Matty.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So 2008 came along, didn't it? You returned to Melbourne, and it was the start of three incredible seasons that we ended up playing in prelims in all of those seasons. We rocketed, and surely this would be an opportunity for us with our list to possibly finally get some silverware. What was it so exciting about the 2008 season, and did you give us a chance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we through that time, we there was some incredible teams. The Hawthorn team was starting to take off, and they obviously won in 2008. But Geelong were just an incredible team. They had stars absolutely everywhere. St Kilda was obviously a very strong team. Collingwood was starting to come through. Yeah, and we considered ourselves to be right up there as well with the best. I reckon we had the best attacking team in the competition. The way that Rocket had built us to play. I believe we were right up there with Geelong in that sense. I think until 2010, when we got Barry. It almost felt like we were missing that one big key forward. We had some star players down there who did an amazing job for their height. Like Mitchy Hahn was probably the biggest guy that we had down there. Yeah, so when he was, getting key defenders on him, definitely made it difficult, but he did an amazing job. Jono was our centre half forward, essentially. Big Will Minson was, resting ruckman. We had Hutto, who was just incredible as a teammate and a ruckman. Loved playing with him. Yeah, but it almost felt like we were just missing. Like I look at St Kilda, who had Rewalt and Cozzy, big targets, and Hawthorn had Lance Franklin and Ruffy, and it was, yeah. It was just the way it was. We had to manufacture different ways to goal, and we had the little whippets running around. I mentioned those couple of guys, but Josh Hill was a good goal scorer. Acker, wingman like Eags and Gia was a great forward for us as well. Murph was sort of forward and back at different times. So yeah, they did an amazing job for the stature of the lineup. But yeah, in a whole, it was it was disappointing to come away from that period without even just even tasting grand final day. I would have given anything to have just given ourselves a shot at grand final day, but yeah, it wasn't to be. I think obviously 2009 was our greatest chance, where it came right down to the wire in that game, and I think we dominated that game. I've watched that game a couple of times, and we absolutely, I believe we dominated that game. And St Kilda would probably say the same thing about the week after against Geelong.
Yeah.
They probably dominated that game, but they didn't come out on top. So it's just a matter of what you do with the ball once you get it in there. Rewalt kicks that, freaky goal from the goal square, to put us away. But I just remember having the ball in our forward half for so long in that last quarter that, we just couldn't quite get that goal. I remember, a couple of our, best players, we were, close to getting that goal, a couple of shots on goal, but it just wasn't to be. And but yeah, that's sport, that's footy. The Olympics are on at the moment, and people are 0.0004 seconds away from a gold medal or a medal. So yeah, that's just sport, and it's something that unfortunately you take to your grave. But yeah, still amazing period for us, and something that I'll always be proud of to be part of.
Yeah, that last quarter I've watched as well, and there's just those almost moments with Gia just drifting to the left, and Acker's one that went out of bounds. Even the Brian Lake free kick on Rewald at halftime,
That's
the touched Hardbrow one. It's just like opening a wound. Some of those, but
yeah, 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 absolutely.
yeah, sorry to do it to you, Crossy. And you didn't mention during this period of time as well. You won the Charles Sutton Medal. You won the best and fairest, and in fact, you're on the podium. Oh, sorry, you're in the top 10 for 10 consecutive years in our best and fairest, which is probably an achievement that's never been done. That's remarkable. You spoke about your consistency. How proud of you are of yourself of that achievement and winning the top award.
Yeah, like I never ever thought about best and fairest or anything like that during the season, leading up to the season, post season. It was just a product of I believe as a product of my work ethic. As I said, I didn't consider myself the best player in the team, but what I did pride myself on was doing exactly what the coach asked of me every single week, and my midfield coach every single week, what my teammates expected of me every single week. And I prided myself on that. I grew up as a North Melbourne supporter, and Glenn Archer was one of my favourite players, him and Wayne Carey. So, I don't think I was in his sort of echelon of courageous, but putting your body on the line was something that I'd really just love to do, and I got a big adrenaline lift from doing things like that for my teammates. So that's what I took into the game. Guys could run and carry and kick the ball beautifully, kick goals. That wasn't my game. I like to be in and under and dishing it out to those guys, and playing to my strengths. Those type of awards come from those sort of things, I guess. Just performing those things that you do well consistently every single game. And that's to be in the top 10 10 years in a row is just a product of that. So yeah, it is something when you finish that you are certainly proud of. but yeah, when you're going through it in the moment, I had the blinkers on. Like I was not worrying about that. I was just worrying about winning games and trying to get to the grand final and doing those sorts of things. And that's what I was highly motivated by.
Yeah, yeah, you can see that, and from our vantage point in the crowd, we knew what you were going to bring every single day, and that was a warrior spirit. There's no doubt about that. So tell us about 2010. You alluded to the fact that we were, maybe a key forward short in that 2008-9 period, and then who walks through the door? A man from the Ovens and Murray. It's Big Barry Hall from your neck of the woods. And we moved forward, didn't we? And won the NAB Cup or the pre-season competition. So he had the people howling in the aisles. How was it to have Baz walk through, and what did that do to the group?
He had us howling too. Like it was awesome. Like we had this big guy down there, and as you said, through that pre-season cup or the NAB Cup or whatever it was called back then. Yeah, that's our shining light, that night premiership. They don't do it anymore, but yeah, we started off that pre-season. Yeah, we were absolutely humming along, and Barry was in great shape. I think he kicked 80 odd goals that year. Yeah, we were tracking really well. Yeah, through that season, it was awesome to have that big guy down there, along with still those smaller types running around with him as well. And we still had that same core of our midfield. Our defence was really strong. But again, I think we got struck down again by injury a bit. It was really unfortunate. Coons was probably the big one where I think he cracked his patella through the year, and I don't think he played in that final series at all. But yeah, I guess that's sport again. It's injuries will happen, but when it happens to probably your best player or close to your best player, it's they're hard to replace, those type of guys.
Yeah, the doggy curse, it just seemed to sort of follow us, didn't it? And even in that year, there was a runaway golf cart that was carrying the drinks that ran into Brad Johnson's Achilles, and we had Acker sort of unceremoniously moved out of the club halfway through. So the footy gods sometimes don't shine on you, do they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about those couple of things. Yeah, Acker was a great player for us when through those years. It was unfortunate, that it had to end the way that it did. But yeah, I still stand by that. He was a fantastic player for us during that period, and the stats would show that. Amazingly gifted player. Still, after he left Brisbane, brought so much to our team on the field. He was fantastic. But yeah, then with Brad, that ended up being his last season as well. I think it was, and yeah, it was disappointing to miss your skipper and yeah, one of your strongest your most influential players up forward. Having him missing was big. So yeah, bit of that curse coming around for us, and yeah, it bit us on the bum.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely did. You've named so many incredible teammates, and I guess you've got some wonderful bonds that the friendships still endure today. We often ask our guests if you could name your Mount Rushmore. So your four pet players from your career whilst at the Dogs who you'd carve into the side of a cliff face. Which four would you choose? I'm putting you on the spot, Crossy.
Yeah, it's very harsh to do that, Matt.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not sure whether anyone can answer that for you very quickly. I'd have to put Boydie on there. We had a strong connection from the start. Our wife, he was one of my best men at my wedding, and our wives are extremely close. He's obviously in Freo at the moment, so I don't get to see him a heap these days, but still talk to him. So very close with Matty. The person that I looked up to the most, and I guess, well, they were B1, B2, Jono and Smithy. I followed those two around like a bad smell in my early days. Yeah, so I'm going to put those two up there together because you can't separate those two.
They're the twins. I like it.
Twins.
Siamese.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll put those two up, and then I'd probably have to put Lindsay Gilby up as well. Gilb and I roomed together. Yeah, so Lindsay and I yeah, became very close, and he used to run past me all the time for a handball, and I was more than willing to give it to him every single time. He was the best kick that I played with. And he'd hit me up on beautiful passes as well. Coming out from the back line. So yeah. Unfortunately, I can only name four, but yeah, those will be the four that have come to mind straight away for different reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, what an awesome foursome that is. A great group, and I'm sure you could go on naming them. That's for sure. So fantastic, Crossy. I love that. So you mentioned 2011. It was a year that you were hoping that we'd carry on, but it wasn't to be. 2011, 12, 13 became transitional years in a way, and Brendan McCartney ended up being ushered through. It was a real time of change, I guess. I guess you, as you know, in your role as a veteran, did you take on a mentoring role for some of any of those young boys coming through? And did any of them sort of stand out for you?
Yeah, definitely. I was lucky to be voted into the leadership group when I was 22. So I'd
Wow.
been in that group for quite a long time, or 22, 23. Yeah. Um, yeah. So it was something that another thing that I really prided myself on. I wasn't a real vocal person. You know, I was sort of I'm definitely one of those people who like to let people, um, run to the beat of their own drum. And, everyone's different, and everyone goes about things their own way. But when it came to training, I like to think that I was one of the ones that was setting the example. So I like to pride myself on bringing a lot of those guys along and train with me, whether that be through the off season or pre-season. So that was definitely that was more the mentoring role that I had. The leading by example, sort of leadership. Through that, yeah, 2011, 12, 13 period. Um, I remember Tommy Liberatore and Mitch Wallace were the two that really stick in my mind. They were great young fellas. Mitch was more the talkative one, whereas Libba was just get the work done type of guy. And I was lucky enough. My son's 13 now, and he's been inducted into the father son program now. And um, Libba, we had a day down there about a month ago, and Libba was one of the players that was leading the charge, getting the boys involved in. We went on captain's run day, and the boys were just sort of standing off to the side a bit, just watching. And Libba got them involved, and he said to me, after training had finished, he said he remembered, guys like me and when he was coming through and looking after him. And it sort of brought a tear to my eye, sort of thing, that it sort of comes 360 a bit. Where he's that elder statesman now, and my sort of son's coming through, and don't know whether he'll make it or not. I hope he does. But yeah, it's sort of that life cycle of the fathers and sons. We've had a great history of that in our club, and yeah, those two young guys, really stick out in my mind.
How good is that? So your mentorship, it comes full circle, as you say, and what goes around comes around. Hopefully, your son is representing you with the number four in 5 or 6 years from now. How good would that be?
Nothing would make me prouder.
Oh my God. So you left the club in 2013. You broke Bulldog hearts. We thought you were a one club player and you'd never leave, and that's you bled red, white, and blue. But you moved over to the Demons. How did that happen, Crossy?
Well, yeah, I definitely bled red, white, and blue, and unfortunately, that decision was, it was taken out of my hands. I was desperate to stay. Wanted to keep playing, keep going, but yeah, it's as you leave the game and understand, how list management works and, the cycle period of a player and a team. Our team was sort of coming to the end of its run, I guess. And unfortunately, I was one of the first ones to cop the bullet. But yeah, as I said, I think the decision had been made, and those young guys, coming through were a strong nucleus of the 2016 Premiership side. So, it's hard for the individual at the time, but as I said, when you come out of football, you sort of understand, the decisions that have to be made, and really they probably made the right decision that a couple of us older guys had to be moved on, and the team won the 2016 Premiership, which was fantastic, and a couple of my great teammates, Boydie, Pico, Moz, they were in that team. I would have loved to have been part of it, but yeah, unfortunately I wasn't. But I was extremely happy for the club, and yeah, we were at the game, and yeah, it was certainly brought a tear to the eye.
Absolutely. Well, what a selfless way to look at things, the changing of the guard and, your career, moving to Melbourne and, the end not too far after that. But, what was it like to sort of see some of these people that you loved and the club that you loved finally raising that? Did you feel a part of it? We've had so many past players on here, who were in the crowd, and they just felt that, what, I'm a part of this in some way, and it must have felt magical.
It was magical because I obviously, it was 1954 since we'd won the last one. But so a lot of my wife's family are Bulldog supporters. During that 2008, 9, 10 period, I remember crying after those prelims, for hours and hours and hours and even days. And just thinking of those family members and my family and people that support you all the way through. That's just as hard as, your own personal grief. So to see some of those people basking in that glory of the 2016 Premiership was amazing to see. It really, really made me happy. Yeah, and I did go down to the rooms. I snuck down into the rooms afterwards and had a beer with those guys, and yeah, it was great. But that was unless you're sort of in the 22 that play, even the guys that are on the list at that time, they would say that they don't feel part of it unless you got that medal around your neck. That's what you play. That's what you play for. That medal around your neck. So yeah, in a sense, yes, but in a way, no.
So a player and a person that's so driven like you are. Obviously, you went back to the Ovens and Murray, and you tasted premiership success for the club that you began with. But did you leave your AFL career feeling unfulfilled, or was it just bigger than that? With the relationships and all the achievements that you had, that you actually say, well, no, I am fulfilled.
I'm proud of the career that I was able to carve out. When I first started, I think a lot of my teammates at the time when I was 17 wouldn't have thought that I would have got to, close to 250 games. So yeah, it's definitely, playing 15 years at the professional level is something that I'm very proud of. And as you talk about the consistency that I had through that time. So yeah, I guess I probably did. I was proud of that, but yeah, I was definitely one that was so motivated just to win, yeah, premierships and big finals and that. And I still think about it now. Like every time grand final week comes around and I watch the grand final, and I just get so envious watching guys go up on the podium, wishing it was that I got to do that. Yeah, so a big part of me is unfulfilled in a professional sense. That was my job, and I didn't get the ultimate success, but there's thousands of players that unfortunately don't get to taste that. And as you said, I did get to go back to Albury and win a couple of flags. So yeah, with my home club, it was yeah, that was exciting to do, and great for the family as well.
Absolutely. Well, we recently had Tony Liberatore on here, and also Neil Cordy, and they were in the grandstands, obviously when we won the premiership, and they said, despite not winning one themselves, the feeling of their own child or their family member getting up on the podium and winning it is actually a different level. So let's all hope, and every Bulldog supporter is hoping this for you, that your son one day lifts that cup and holds that medallion up. And I tell you what, we'd love to see your face when that happens.
I would cry you a river, that's for sure. It would, yeah. That is now my dream. I definitely don't put any pressure on Tyler. He's his own person and he's got his own goals, and it's something that he's definitely going to be striving for. But yeah, even if I had won one, if I saw him win one, yeah, it would be incredible.
Incredible. Well, the Bulldog Army's right behind you, Tyler. We're all watching this, so we'll fast forward in 5 years, those people who are watching this, and we'll say, hey, you picked it, Crossy. You said it might happen. We love it. We're coming close to the end of the podcast. I just want to quickly ask you, before we do one last thing. You spoke about some of the battles that you had. Was there an opposition or an opponent that really stood out as one that you had a great battle with, that you got respect for, and even ones that you absolutely despised?
I won't name the ones that I despise. I don't like doing that. There's definitely some, but I won't name them. But there's two players that I always come back to. I was very lucky, like 2000 through most of the start of my career. When I started to play regular games, I was a run with player or a shutdown player or the tagger as they call back then, and I played on a lot of the stars of the game. A lot of them are Brownlow medalists, and these two guys are so Ben Cousins is the first one. He was incredible, almost impossible to keep up with. He was extremely skillful, but his running power was like second to none. Phenomenal runner. Like, everyone used to talk about Chris Judd's speed, but he was just as quick, I reckon. And he would go in big bursts and he'd leave you for dead. And then he'd have a break. He'd be down on his haunches. He'd have a breather and then he'd go again. And it's like almost impossible to stop because they'd give him the ball every single time. And yeah, if you weren't like stuck to him like glue, he was getting the ball every single time. So he was someone that I always admired, and he was probably the best player that I played on, along with Simon Black. Simon Black, for me, he doesn't get the plaudits that he deserves, to be honest. There's a lot of guys that are in the media who get spoken about a lot more. I know he is in the media, but probably not as much the mainstream stuff. But he's done everything in the game, just about, except win a Coleman medal. He was amazing, and he'd run at the same pace all day. So he'd run at that tempo speed all day from the first siren to the last siren, and his hands were incredible. And yeah, they had an amazing team, Brisbane. I used to play on him and Lukey Power, yeah, a lot. But yeah, Simon Black was the one that I usually got the task of, and I just knew that I was going to be absolutely stuffed. I remember we played them in, I think it was the 2009 semi-final. I remember I was throwing up after the game just because I was that dehydrated. Yeah, trying to keep up with him all game. So yeah, those two guys, yeah, really stand out for me.
Yeah, beautiful. I imagine they're saying the same thing about you in a parallel podcast, because you just did not stop. You're the running man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, it was definitely one of my strengths. Yeah, as a junior, and I love my athletics and cross country as a junior. So bring your strengths to the game, boys. Yep.
Big time, big time. Crossy, we're coming right to the end of the podcast, and without word of a warning, we do this for all our guests to end off. We've got a 60-second Bulldog quiz, and we know that you love the hot seat. So we're putting 60 seconds on the clock. I'm going to give you a little bit of power. There's 2 categories you're going to choose from. Now, we've got a ladder of where past players have ended, and at the moment, Barry Stanfield leads the ladder. So hopefully you can jump on top of him. And if you do get to the top, you play Dougie Hawkins in the quiz final at the end of the year in December, and you're playing for a portrait painted in your honour. Fingers crossed you can win it, Crossy. Here are the 2 categories you choose: the 1930s, or player surname starting with the letter C.
Geez, the 1930s. I'll have to go with the surname starting with C, I would have thought. Yeah.
Thought you would say that. Brilliant, brilliant. All right, well, 60 seconds are on the clock. The time will start after the first question. Good luck, Crossy. Here we go. Number 1, Stuart Cramery was recruited from Essendon. Is that true or false?
True.
Correct. Daniel Cross had the most handballs in the league in the 2010 season. True or false?
False.
That's true. 1990s fullback Tony Campbell is the father of former Bulldog ruckman Tom Campbell. Is that true or false?
False.
It's false. Question number 4. Which player, starting with the letter C, won the 2008 Brownlow?
Rooney.
Correct. Leon, who was a Bulldog winger, who became the GWS coach?
Cameron. Leon Cameron.
Correct. Brian Cordy is the father of which 2 Cordy sons?
Ace and Zane.
You got it. Which 1990s Bulldog spearhead shares the same name as a British explorer?
James Cook.
Got it. Which number is worn by current Bulldog Charlie Clark?
42.
That's number 8. And right on the siren, we'll give you a chance to ask the last one. Jordan, who is son of which Bulldog past playing champ?
Croft.
You got it.
Crofty, yep.
Woohoo! Absolutely, Matty Croft.
Yep. What a great guy.
Love it, love it, love it.
Did I win? Did I beat who was it? Barry Stanfield?
Let's have a look. Here's the scores now, Crossy. Look at that. Unbelievable.
Yes.
Sir.
Love competition.
Love it, love it, love it. Oh, wow. Barry Stanfield will be looking at that scoreboard with interest, that's for sure. Well, that was brilliant, brilliant. Crossy, we've come to the end of the podcast. We want to thank you. We want to ask you this final question. Have you got any final comments for Bulldog supporters who absolutely love and adore you, and how you would like to be remembered by them?
Look, I always tried to give as much back as I possibly could as a player. And the reason that I did that is because they gave me so much as a player. I always felt the love, even at training, obviously at games, but my heart will always be at the Bulldogs. As I said, I've got kids coming through. I've got a boy and a girl. Charlie, my girl, she's playing under 10s, and she might be better than all of us. She absolutely loves it. But so if they were to come to the club, there would be nothing that would make me happier. Absolutely love the place. I still live in the western suburbs. You can't kick me out. I'll always forever be grateful to the people that recruited me and to come to a place like the Western Bulldogs and Footscray. We're a working class team, and I love that about us. I still love them all. You always sometimes think, people probably don't even remember me anymore, which is fine. But I'll always love the place. It'll always be my home. So hopefully I see a lot of faces as my kids start to come through, and hopefully they can have successful journeys as well.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, hopefully Charlie and Tyler, as you say, pull on the old mighty Bulldogs kit, and I'll tell you what, we'd be equally as proud as you will be of them. I'm certain of that. And how could we ever forget you, Crossy? What an incredible career! 249 AFL games, Bulldog champion, best and fairest winner, and always a favourite son. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Cross.
Thanks, mate.
Red in my heart, white in my veins, blue in one eye, red, white, and blue in my brain. I'm Bulldog